All right, we are live. Let me get this tweeted out real quick here. Da, da, da. All right. I hope everybody had a blessed weekend and looking forward to a fun trading week this week. Last week, kind of flat. We had if we go to the SPX, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Not very exciting. It was Yeah, I mean, it was exciting in a couple parts, right? But for the most part, it was doji week, right? Kind of tagged the upper cloud top, kind of came back in, tested the mid Bollinger Band level. So it's kind of just floating around in the middle of nowhere right now. So, but it's still in the cloud, right? So let's see if we get any maybe downside movement here. So we've got the futures down. Of course, we've seen that doesn't mean too much these days, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green weeks in a row. So you'd think we'd at least try to get a red week this week. Maybe it'll test the low end of this channel. Monthly. Let me auto zoom in there and see. All right, that's kind of looks like a mess right there. Let me just scroll in. Why is it not grabbing? There we go. Okay, yeah. So monthly still. We're still in February, so a bit of a doji month still forming here, and the daily we. Sorry, guys. I don't know why my chart keeps on bouncing to the right like that, but let's see. There. I'll take a look there. All right. Let's see. Yeah. So kind of. We've had a few. You had a little bit hit the highs of that, kind of that cloud early in the week, kind of came back in, and then this last hammer gave us that weekly doji. But we're still kind of floating around up here too, off of this longer term cloud. So we'll see how that plays out. We've got just to kind of give you an update, Elliott wave wise on the market. After our double high up here at the our long channel through 2018, we hit our wave 1 down, then ABC wave 2, right, and then it looked like that this was a wave 3, and that they were potentially working on a wave 4. Either at the 23% retracement or 38.2, which is common for a wave 4, and then we were expecting a wave 5 down. But that never happened. So, in fact, it blew right through it, and it eliminated the possibility of this being a wave 4 by taking out wave 1 right here, right? And so now we're just kind of hypothesizing of what the market is up to, right? So we're back in the channel, right? So we're definitely, in the channel here. Interesting how we triangled right into it. And then to me, this triangle was a wave 4, and then we hit wave 5 to catch A. So this was very possibly a zigzag correction up, which means that's 5, and then we would expect a 3-wave move to the downside to finish wave B, and then another zigzag up for wave C. And that would give us my opinion, is a very potential wave 2 of 3 that's still working, if it fits this, if this is what it gives us, right? Also, as far as we know, we just don't know, right? This whole thing could have just been like an A, B, C correction down, and that was it, just a correction of the big bull trend, and now we're just heading back into the ultimate uptrend. We don't know yet, right? So we just have to base everything on what we see, label it as we can, and kind of anticipate and go from there. But for the most part right now, I'm thinking wave A is in, and we're going to be working on A, B, C down to get to wave B. And it kind of matches, the overall theory of the, just of the market here. I know this looks like a lot of crazy blue lines, but there are basically 2 or 3 major pitchforks in here, right? So this is one of the first ones of the year. So we had here to here, those 3 big pivots, right? And so that was huge, right? That was almost made up the entire year, and that almost allowed us to kind of hit this bottom pivot to the tick off of that. Then we took a larger one here off of this huge move down and made a bigger pitchfork, which went all the way back here, right, to this pivot here. And it also corresponds with the same pivot area, and so it kind of gives us some confluence, which is going to be our topic of today, right at where we are now, right? So we're right at this mid pitchfork level, of the larger pitchfork, plus, it's also a resistance level from another pitchfork bottom, right? So we're kind of in this area here where it needs to kind of make up its mind, and I'm assuming this is going to serve as some sort of resistance, and we might get a push back down, but I don't know yet until we get confirmation. But that's the sort of, I'm looking for more shorting opportunities than long opportunities right now, at least until we get to this mid area, or even until we get to that the lower end of this channel, right? Okay, so that being said, so today's technical topic, is going to be Fibonacci confluence and understanding that. So we've talked about Fibonacci a couple times. Of course, we talk about it every time we do Elliott wave because it gives us a good way to predict or anticipate the end of a wave, right? So we know that some common retracements are 0.618 or the 61.8 retracement, right? That's usually common for wave 2, sometimes wave B, right? And so so we see that a lot. And then we have the 50% retracement, which could be, we could see that on a flat, and we could also see that as wave 2. Sometimes we could see it as wave 4, and then 38.2 we can get wave 4, and then further on down. So so those are the kind of the basics of using that for Elliott wave. But there's other methods to use Fibonacci as well. And so a lot of times, let me go to a chart that might be interesting. I'm trying to think. Let's go to take 2, because I was kind of looking at this recently. So I kind of tweeted this out. PRHK had I think it was talking about earlier, and then we pointed out the double inside day on that. So this is going to be interesting to look at for tomorrow as a trade. So let's go ahead and put some Fibonacci's on this one. Now a lot of times there's a lot of different techniques you can use, and we're just going to talk about finding confluence today. But there's several techniques that you can use, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go without all this cloud stuff. I'm going to go to my kind of clear area right here, and I'm going to make this a daily chart. Let's say 2 years daily. Let's go daily. We'll go 2 years, and that should give us just plain candlesticks, and I'll even remove the moving average here. And okay. So that should be pretty good. So basically we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to draw a couple fib lines. And a lot of times what we want to do, and so this is kind of what I'm looking at here. So take 2 recently gapped down on less than stellar earnings, right? And now we've got the double inside day. So there's a gap above, but there's also a gap below, and this comes all the way from about like August or July of 2017. Okay, so now we were just kind of looking and seeing if this breaks to the downside, is it going to want to fill this gap, or is it going to go to the upside and want to fill that gap? So a couple of things you can do. For drawing fib lines is just in general, just to kind of get an idea to find support and resistance level areas, is we could just kind of say, hey, we could do something. Let's say we're short-term, Fibonacci trading. We could just take the high of the before the gap down to the low, and then we'll just draw a Fibonacci retracement there. And so we go from the high. This will be mostly just estimated to the low right there. Okay. And so, so that gives us that this kind of general area. So we could see that even if we were trading short term, just off of that drop from the high to low, that's a technique that you can use, right? And so drew this this fib area, down here, you would see that potential resistance came, right at about the 50% retracement, right? So it kind of makes sense, right? So so that came up, hit about the 50% retracement, and then kind of came back in, right? And now the next day it used this 38.2% retracement as some resistance, right? And then now it seems to use the 23.6 as some support. So so these are good short-term levels that you could trade off of, or at least use for a general area. If you could find other key levels that kind of make sense, right? And that's where confluence comes in. So a couple other things you could do is you could draw a price line here. You could say, hey, these were some pretty common support areas here, right? On that area, and look, it happens to line up with the 50% line. So now you're getting not only you're getting Fibonacci resistance, but you're also finding old support, right? You can see that level there is really key. It used it several times. We closed and we opened on those levels, right? So this is good support area. So we have confluence here at the 50% line. So that's now become resistance, right? And so the same thing, so that gives us good confluence. And another way to do this is to find, other pivots on other time frames, right? So you can go, we'll go to the we can go to the weekly, right? And so here you can see off the weekly that this week here had basically a high right here, right? So that was the high of the week, right? There's a big pivot area, and that's at the 100% line, right? And so you can kind of see that you're getting some confluence areas here. So these become really important levels that you can trade off of. Okay, so now here's what I'm going to do. And we also talked about too that one good technique for when you're drawing these is when when you're drawing fib lines, if you're not doing it for Elliott wave, is you want that 50% line to go through either a major bar or a gap. That's something helpful. So now I'm going to zoom out and see if we can find one more confluence here using another Fibonacci from an earlier date, and maybe a big one, and see if we can find anything that kind of matches up that way. Okay, so let's see. So one thing we could do is we could go from here, but I want to go a little bit further back in time, and let's go down to here, that 56 low. Let me add one more year to this, and do this. These type of techniques too are really good for when you're planning your trades, for the day. So, if you find yourself over trading, right, start studying only fewer charts, and you'll find that it takes a lot of your time instead of just scanning through and looking for, maybe particular, chart setups and all that stuff. Pick, 3 or 4 charts that you really like to trade, and really start getting in depth into them of how to analyze how their price action works and how to analyze them. And then when you can focus on 1 or 2 or 3 stocks, you'll find yourself trading a lot less, but you'll also find yourself doing a lot more of these type of techniques on it, so that you can get better at trading that particular stock, and then get really comfortable when you see like a real setup on it. And then you've got your Elliott waves on it, and it can really help, and trend lines, and it can really help you really become more profitable by focusing on that one stock. So hold on, let me see what we got. I'm not going to do a trend line on this right now. I'm just going to focus on the Fibonacci, because that is the idea. So here I'm just going to say take this low here, and I'm going to go all the way to all-time highs, because this looks like a pretty important level, right? It served as like some support here prior, and then it was the final support, and then it all went back up, right? So let's go to the all-time highs and just kind of see this, and that does look interesting. Okay, good. And remember, we want the 50% line, if we can, to go through a gap or a major bar. And it looks like it went through this major bar here, this major bar here, so that's looking pretty good. So now let's go to our current day. So let's go fast forward to the present here. Okay, kind of zoom in. Okay. And here, let's see what we got. So these were our other fib lines, and look what we got here. So the 50% line, which goes to this major bar, right? And it also happens to go through this gap, kind of matches up with the 78.6 line, right? So that is a confluence, right? That means they are, resonating off each other, right? So let's draw a line there, and then let's see if it gave us one more. Looks like that was it. So those are pretty much the key levels. And then what you can do is you remove that, and hold on one second. Yep, you remove that. Yep, that looks good. Remove. Okay. And then you can label those two, so you don't forget what they were. But this one here was your confluence line right here. So this is going to be really interesting to see too. So, and we can even kind of, label that. So we could go. So we'll color this, edit properties. Let's make it, I don't know, some bright color like this blue, and then we could label it. We'll label the level fib confluence. Okay, there, and this is a 50% key level. So this to us right now is a big deal, and we can even put a text box in there too, saying fib confluence level. And basically what you do is, although we might not be trading off of this in the in the near future, it is definitely gives us something to look at, right, as a potential level in the future. So so let's say the double inside day breaks to the upside, right, and gives us, we could hit this. This is one of our levels too, right? So this is the 50% level that corresponded with prior, support, and then now resistance, right? So that's going to be a key level to get through as we're trading. And so you just have these up on your screen when you look at other things too. So let's go now. Let's zoom into the daily chart, and let's see what else we come up with, right? Amazingly here, if take two, breaks out and then starts to come up here, you're going to you're going to start seeing this level that this might be a good place to actually short, right? So follow your mid Bollinger Band. It might start matching up with that level. The more confluence you can get in one area, right, the more significant that level is, and then you can use that as a trading level to potentially short or look for a breakthrough to go higher. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and you can continue to look at that to see if it makes sense in other areas too. So hopefully you find that helpful for your trading, and to find key levels of resistance or support using Fibonacci confluence, and then eventually combining it with other tools such as the cloud, as your Bollinger Bands or your moving averages, to find great levels that you could trade to either short or go long. So I hope you find that helpful. And at this point, if anybody has any chart requests, please feel to put those into the chat box, and we'll go through those. And yeah, and so appreciate it. So probably go to about like 10 o'clock. So yeah. Let me check this out here in the YouTube. Let's see what's going on, Prayer Kid. Good to see you, man. Hope you had a great weekend. And Jandia, how's it going? Harvey, what's going on, man? Good to see you. I hope you found this today's technical lesson helpful. Hope the video coming through is not too bad. Manoj, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Mark, how are you? ALNY. Let's take a look. ALNY. Yeah. Pharma company. Okay, let's go here. We explored this one yet? Not quite yet. Okay, cool. So what we're seeing is huge highs back from August 18 all the way down to these lows of 60.27. Sorry, I just dropped my old microphones there. Okay, so what I want to do here is whenever I see in a short time frame, I see a significant high and a significant low. I want to do a pitch fan or a fib fan here, from here to the low, to look to see if I can find some key resistance and support levels. And clearly that looks pretty good. So what you do is you go from the high to the low, with your Fibonacci fan, and you can see that this level is turning into a pretty good support and resistance level. As you guys know, we have the volume profile up here, and is very kind of Thinkorswim to put in the volumetric, some of the key volumetric levels. And so this red one right here is significant, so it's coming right through there. So if we can get through this Fibonacci level, right, we want to get to this volumetric level of 81. So I figure like an 81.50 break, you're going to start working on pivots, right? So you've got 86.50, and then you've got this 91 level. So if we can get through there, that looks good. But if it can't handle this Fibonacci fan line, then you may see it come back down all the way to this volumetric level of 71, or even possibly test the low of the fan line as well. So so that's definitely something to look at. And we could also run a pitchfork on it just to see, if we can get some sort of something interesting. I mean, so this is kind of interesting too. So we're seeing this median line here is serving as resistance. So we're above it right now, around this key area, right? And I'm going to do one more thing for you. I'm going to put an Andrews reaction line, action reaction line. Let's go to one of these key pivot areas here. This looks pretty good because it has two pivots it's going through. I'm going to duplicate it. We'll do the channel, and I'm going to carry that forward here. Just kind of see where we're at. Yeah, so you can see we're in kind of a major area here, right? We're at this reaction line. We're at the pitchfork median line, and we're at the Fibonacci fan line. So if we can get through here and get through volumetric resistance, I think you would see a move to the upside. Interestingly enough, on the hourly here too, you've got RSI was just oversold, so you might get a little pop there. Same with the stochastic. So cool chart. Jandy, what's going on? Yeah, let's take a look at PLNT and Goose. PLNT looking cool. I like the recent high to the recent low. I wish I could squeeze those in there. Let me go to the daily. Yeah, it doesn't really. But this looks really bullish. This is for the most part, I'm going to draw a trend line. I mean, for the most part, obviously you can see it's doing really well here. I mean, you just kind of, if anything, it might kind of pull back to this 51 area and then go up again. But like I said, for anything, it actually looks like it's kind of going up in a channel too. So if we draw this here, right, so it's kind of working its way up the channel. So it gave you a nice little pivot here. It might come, like I said, it might come back down, work its way up. But this is overall very, very bullish. So Planet Fitness, yeah. So it looks like they do have the earnings coming up here at the 21st. Let's just take a look at the candlestick chart real quick. Let's see if it's giving us any indications on these time frames here. Not very interesting on the candlesticks. Don't look very interesting, but you can tell it wants to move. You see how the Bollinger Bands here, how they all compress in this one area? That usually means it's getting ready to expand out, right? So you've got an inside day on Friday. So look to see if it breaks to the upside or downside, and see which way you want to go. So obviously to the upside, you got the upper Bollinger Band target here is 58, and it could keep going to 63. Otherwise here, you've got your 50-day moving average as your next potential at 55, and if it keeps going down, it could jam onto the cloud and obviously retest the that trend line area. But it does have a lot of resistance. Support below it. With the cloud and with the trend line and your 200 days right here. So I would just give it some time, but it looks like it's going to expand. It wants to, and probably earnings is going to be a big catalyst for that. Let's take a look at Goose. That looks like a nice chart, doesn't it? It just looks like it's really just like a nice smooth uptrend here, right? Nice reversal and uptrend. Very interesting stuff. Let's see. Let's put a fan on here. It's not going to be too exciting, but just see what it... Whoop, sorry. Let's pitchfork to the fan. You're here to see what it did. Right, kind of came up through a couple of those areas. And really just broke out as it got through there. But you can see what it did when we originally came down here, right? So it came, touched, came back down, and then it finally broke out through there. Now it's at this volumetric resistance level, so keep an eye on that. I did count a 1, 2, 3. I thought I was working on a 4 here. Obviously this can't be a 4, so this could have been 4 truncated 5, and it's just working its way back up. So, but I do like this huge engulfing day. Let me just go back to the daily chart. I had a great day on Friday. And then if we scroll into the daily here, this is the only thing that concerns me, and only is that it's right at this cloud resistance. But I do like the bullish engulfing day. This is a true engulfing day here, and it came right off of the 200 moving average. It tagged that and came up, and it stopped right at the cloud top. So look to see if you can get above this, then look for some consolidation, and then a potential breakout again to the upside to get to this 58 level, this Fibonacci line. So that looks really good. Kyle, what's going on, man? Yeah, it's a good weekend. Goes fast, too fast, man. So wish I could do this all week, but got to do the other stuff too. Harvey, curious how you determine what week or month when buying options. Okay, yeah, so it depends on what your target. I had a conversation about this earlier today with a good friend of mine, and so it depends on what your goals are and your targets, right? So if you're just scalping intraday and you want to take advantage of a potential intraday breakout using either your 15-minute chart or your hourly chart, a good solid setup, then you want to use just the weekly options, right? But if you use different options, depending on what your target and your goal is, right? So, I'm not saying one way or another. I don't know if Goose is going to break out or not. But let's say I'm really confident that I've reanalyzed it with Elliott Wave, and I really feel like this is not a pull, like a corrective pattern. It's not going to pull back here and then go back up. Or maybe I do. Maybe I say like, hey, this is a zigzag. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's zigzag up. I'm expecting an A, B, C down, and then I expect a zigzag wave C up, and that's going to get me to. You see how I'm seeing this in time? It's going to get me up to this maybe over, let's say over 64, right? So at that point, I look down, I look at my day of when I think it's going to hit there, and so I'm thinking April. So at this point, if I'm trading this as a swing long, ideally using verticals, right, so it doesn't hurt me as much, I might do like a 64 April, so April closes on the 19th, so I'd go to trade, and I would look to see what kind of value I could get out of it if it hits my 60 something level. So here you can see, based on these options, the strikes out in April are $5 apart, right? And I'm only thinking it's going to get over maybe 65 by April. But let's see how how much money I can make off of it. This is where you look at your risk reward to see if it makes sense to do it. So I go to the vertical there, and I see the difference between these are, so much, and it looks like I could risk 1.65 to make 335. So it's basically a 1 to 2 risk reward, but it's a 1 to 2 risk reward that's if the setup is good and I really believe in it, then maybe I'm okay doubling my money, but then maybe I want to risk a little bit more. Maybe I'll risk $500 and just kind of swing that and then see where I'm at in April. And if if it turns into $1,000 in April, well, that's $1,000 I didn't have. So that's how I look at it, right? So just got to look at where your targets are and then what your goals are, time frame wise. So hopefully that helps. PDX, NVIDIA into earnings. Are we in an ABC wave? So would expect a retracement this week before earnings report, and then an impulse wave up with good earnings. Let's take a look. So NVIDIA, a very complex question. So let's take a look. So yeah, so basically with NVIDIA, I saw this with a wave 5 down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave 5 was the low here, and then basically now I'm kind of just kind of digging in a little bit deeper here. So this, after that wave 5 down, it looks like we're a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is like a zigzag. So A, right, maybe B, and like I said, maybe we're working on a wave C down. And if that's the case, then that could be the wave C. And then, like you said, earnings might be good, and that might put us into another wave 5 wave impulse wave back up. So I think that's a good way to look at it. PDX. Clayton, what's going on, man? Merit Forever, Goog. Let's take a look. I'm going to do Google, if that's cool with you. So with Google, it has been interesting, and forgive some of these. This is when we were doing the pennant, type trade, and so maybe we're doing a pennant right here, right? So maybe this is kind of come in, pretty steeply, so let me just draw that here. So maybe we're putting in a pennant here, and then we could be seeing a breakout if it gets above that. So so keep that in mind. It's holding this pitchfork support. So if it breaks out a little bit, right, see if this channel that it was working its way up serves as resistance, or if it can get through that and get back in this channel. If it gets back in that channel, it could get some strength. It might consolidate for a couple days and then bounce. So so Google's looking pretty interesting. Justin, glad you made it, man. Spives, sorry, my script there is not too good at reading that. So, but Spy, let me check that out for you, my friend. Let's see. So Spy. So obviously very similar to the SPX. So if you rewind back to the beginning of the video, you'll see the review of the SPX. But right now, this has been this huge kind of impulsive move up, and it's really hard to say where it finished. Let's say 1, 2. Maybe that was 3. This is 4, and this is 5. And now we've got this volumetric resistance area at the pitchfork area too. So now we might be working on an A. 5 A, B, C type situation. We just have to see here. But let's just take a look at the candlesticks and give us a better clue on what it's doing. So we have, of course, the doji week at the top of the clouds. So that is with again pretty much. I'm assuming these were all green weeks too. So I would expect some sort of pullback, but we just never can be sure. Again, it gave us a nice hammer here. We've got this other cloud top, pitchfork resistance. But if we can get through that and we get some bullishness, it might want to retest this 200-day at 273. If it fails, you've got the mid-Bollinger Band at 266, cloud bottom here at 262. If it, 50-day moving average at 260. So that kind of gives you this kind of range of where it could trade over the next couple days. So just have to kind of watch the price action on that one. Everyone, make sure you like the video. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it, bud. Net Fry, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Matt, what's up? Yellow. Jay Pinto, let's take a look at. We just looked at Google, so let's look at Matt. So Mattel. So Mattel after earnings, I'm going to look at the 30-minute orb tomorrow to see what that gives us. So I'm going to go to the 30-minute time frame and trade that off of the orb tomorrow, very potentially. But yeah, you can see here it had a big day. Just look at the 30 and it all can kind of consolidate into that. So let's see if it gets a breakout in one direction or another tomorrow. And then Twitter. I think, as you guys know, we're going to watch the 30-minute orb on this one too. I definitely think there's some more downside to this stock. I think I did an Elliott wave this weekend, and then I don't know what's going on here. So this wave count's my wave count's a little bit jacked up right here, so I apologize about that. So tough to say. Mostly, I'm just going to focus on the 30-minute orb and just see what that does tomorrow. Twitter's a tough little stock to trade, if it doesn't get some news or something like that. So, it can just kind of hang out and do its little thing, and it does that a lot, and it gets really frustrating because it's an affordable stock to trade with the common shares, but it's and obviously the spreads are good too with the options, but if it doesn't move, right, it doesn't really help anybody, and so you end up putting up on a lot of shares or a lot of options, and then it just kind of ticks around and it ends up ticking you off. So just be careful with Twitter on that one. So, but yeah, good stuff right there. Brandon, what's going on? Yeah, busy. Appreciate you though. Thanks, man. I appreciate you following along. Target had a weak close on Friday. I'm still holding into my put. Yeah, I think there's some potential in there. I didn't want to have like 3 shorts on, and it was kind of pulling up, and I was like, let me just take the profit on it and just hold FedEx and McDonald's into that. So so FedEx should be good. I'm really liking FedEx really short into April, and McDonald's I think it's got a couple more weeks till it gets to. Or it could happen sooner, but 170 is my target on McDonald's. ATVI, let's take a look there. Yeah, good old ATVI. Let's see what that's doing on the daily. It's got a lot of cloud resistance above it, and it's been hanging out here inside day. A bit of trying to put in a reversal the next day and couldn't do it. I've drawn this congestion zone too. This is a long-term congestion zone that it's in, so that's that level right there, and it's below that. So it's got to get some strength. But like I said, it could do earnings could do anything. It could end up being awesome, and at least it could get above the cloud too. But right now, it's got some support down here at 30. So if the earnings are bad, and these big gaming companies have been bad because they're getting destroyed by the smaller names that kids and adults alike are just liking. So a potential breakdown there at earnings could be interesting too. So just be careful. It could go either way. Merritt, what's going on? NVIDIA earnings this week. Does downward already accounted? That's a great question, Merritt. Yeah, so they already announced that they're going to miss on earnings, right? So the question is that already priced in, right? The real question is what are they going to say? What's the conference call going to be, right? So if they come out and say, yeah, they had their earnings bad, everybody's going to expect that. But if they give more, negative guidance, that could continue to hurt it. So hopefully they come out with something, for their own sake. Hopefully they come out with something good for forward guidance and can get their stock back going. Otherwise, it's see ya. It's going to be sub 100 before you know it. Jimmy, what's going on, man? Yeah, it was a great weekend. I hope you had a good one too. Netfry's charts are awesome, man. He's a machine. Are you a machine, Netfry? EOS, that's awesome, dude. Netfry's, send me a blank check or transfer to P. Yeah, that's right. You guys are great. Justin, what about ITM versus OTM options? Seems like Delta changes a ton. It does, yeah. So out of the money options, let's take a look real quick. Do I have deltas on these? I don't. Let's just go to the Greeks here. So obviously your delta, right? The further you're in the money, right? So I like if I'm going to trade in the money. Right, every time stock moves like $1, I'll go ahead and make $1 off of it, right? So you can catch that. The only thing that you have here, right, with the with the more out of the money options, is that you get that explosive move when when something changes, especially on a momentum stock. That the deltas increase, begin to start increasing exponentially, right? So thanks to Vega move and all that. And so when that happens, then if you go out of the money and you get really close to it really fast, that starts to explode. Whereas if you're hanging out in here, even if you moved $1, you only made $1. But here, if you moved $1, you could double or triple your investment. But here, you only make $1. So that's a more conservative way to trade options, if you can afford them, is to trade the in the money options. Just make sure that they have. Let me go back to this. So yeah, just make sure that there's plenty of open interest and volume so you can get out of it, right? So that's the main thing. But Bigger delta, in the money. Just if you have those big moves, you don't capitalize as much. But if you're okay just making a little bit and just making a good profit, then you could do that too. Shirley, what's going on? All right, let's take a look at key. And guys, I got 5 more minutes, so we could all get some rests. Okay, so let's take a look at Key Corp. Good stuff here. So this is looks like you have an inside day, which is pretty awesome. What is that inside? No, it looks like a reversal day low. Yeah, it wasn't quite an inside. It looked like an inside day from the distance there. Yeah, I mean, looks overall pretty bullish. You've got a nice nice uptrend going on here, right? So you want to just kind of connect those. Just see if it holds these levels. See if it holds 1650. There might even be a place to try to buy too, just to if you buy a pullback. And I like that it gapped up and it was pretty strong. So it looks like it if it consolidates a little bit and bangs into this trend line, see if it takes that somewhere to the upside. Let's see. Let's go back to our favorite area here. Yep. So that looks good. Let's do a fan line here, real quick. 2191. 1366. So look at that. It's really kind of testing that upper fan line. If it pulls in here, that's right at this volumetric level too. So you might get a little bounce again up to that 17 area. CFG. Like here, you're looking at the financials. It's hard to really say if these things are, what the fins are going to do, but they certainly need some flow of money into it. I watch out for Goldman Sachs. I just feel like they're going to get hit again with more of this Malaysia stuff. But check out that fan line there from this 42.87 high to the 27.62 low. You can see it's banging right into that for resistance. So we've got the volumetric support right here too. So it's consolidating nicely. You've got a mini cup and handle going on, or a larger cup and handle here. So let's see if we can get above that 35, 36 level, and hopefully take out 37 and then 38, as a potential. So that's a good looking stock right there. H-band. Another fine fin. Again, looks very similar to the setup as the other one. So just keep an eye on these levels. It seems to be holding support a little bit better because it's already almost breaking out. And then so this looks actually pretty strong. If you can get can get back above here over 14, it looks like this 1483 is some volumetric resistance. So just look at that as a potential target. And let's see those H-band. You've got CMA. Comerica. Let's see. Very similar setup. This one is actually above it. So this one looks actually the strongest out of all of them, just based on that. Hey, no problem, my friend. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for participating. And sure, let's take a look at VTR. 62. And then to see if it works its way back up to 65. It does seem to be working its way up now. So 65 is a good target with the stop down here where it's got some new support. Showing in the recent time frame. So that looks pretty good. And a bit of a cup and handle. So if it gets above your 65 level, I think you can definitely see new highs after that. Manoj, what's going on? Why traders don't use their actual names on Twitter? Because a lot of us have jobs. So, I think if, our bosses see our names on there and they see that all we're doing is tweeting all day and looking at stocks, it might not be good for our current jobs, right? So that's kind of the way I see it too. Also, I think some people, they don't put their names out there because there's a lot of jerks out there on Twitter, so they just won't want their names out there if they make a bad. They're embarrassed. It's embarrassing if you put I've done it so many times now I don't even care. But it's if you put a bad tweet out there that you thought something was going up and it ended up going down, they just don't want people to be like, oh hey, Manoj, why did you do that, right? So it's, they just avoid that. So that's kind of one of the big reasons there. Plus, just the fun of privacy on the internet. So those are my 3 thoughts on that. Justin, cool, yeah, my pleasure, man. Brandon, yeah, have a great night, man. And Harvey, always appreciate you, man. Hopefully that Fibonacci stuff was helpful. So find those confluence lines, guys, and see if you can use those as support and resistance. And hope everybody has a great night and an awesome trading week this week. And I will catch you guys tomorrow night, and I'll tweet out a game plan and $50,000 challenge updates later. But yep, things are going good. So hope you guys have a great night, and I will talk to you tomorrow.